Andrew Collins had dedicated years to perfecting his mastery of control. Each choice he made was deliberate, every action executed with meticulous care. Yet, within the confines of one evening, all that he believed to be true was torn asunder. What began as a small gesture of goodwill unfolded in a toy store, where two little girls received teddy bears. He was caught off guard by the lack of reciprocity, having not even pondered it for a moment. But then their mother turned around, and in an instant his whole universe shattered. Because the girls were more than mere strangers. Those were his daughters. He had been completely unaware of their existence. Andrew Collins had dedicated the whole day to a relentless series of meetings, engaging in negotiations and scrutinizing contracts, hardly pausing even for a moment to catch his breath. His existence unfolded as an unending flow of figures, tactics, and business choices. And that was precisely how he preferred it. He flourished in mastery, in exactness, in having a clear vision of the forthcoming move. As evening approached, an inner voice urged him to take a moment for himself. Not the sort of respite that included lavish dining or corporate gatherings, but rather something more straightforward. That was how he found himself entering a quaint toy store, reminiscent of the ones from his own youth. As he stepped inside, the gentle sound of the doorbell greeted him, accompanied by the fresh aroma of new plastic and soft fabric. The shelves brimmed with a vibrant array of toys, showcasing everything from plush creatures to dynamic action figures, engaging board games to charming dolls. He was completely at a loss for how to begin. He was not the sort of individual who indulged in purchasing toys. Earlier that day, his business partner had casually brought up his daughter's birthday, and for some reason, Andrew chose to select a gift himself rather than simply delegating the task to an assistant. Perhaps it was a bid to create something a touch more intimate. Perhaps he simply required some mental clarity. Yet here he found himself, meandering down an aisle, utterly adrift and disconnected from his surroundings. As he perused the shelves, the gentle chatter of two little girls nearby captured his attention. They were indistinguishable, with golden locks, striking azure eyes, adorned in coordinated white gowns. With tiny hands wrapped around soft teddy bears, they examined them with great curiosity. The children appeared to be about 5 years old, their voices brimming with enthusiasm as they shared their thoughts on the toys they held. "This one is so much cuter," one of them exclaimed, wrapping her arms around a fluffy white teddy bear. "No, this one is superior," the other insisted, presenting a brown one. Andrew found himself inexplicably drawn to the scene, captivated by the infectious energy that compelled him to linger a moment longer. They engaged in a fervent debate, their small faces contorted in focus as though they were tackling the most crucial decision imaginable. Then, after a brief pause, one of them turned over the price tag, and her demeanor shifted. She leaned in closer to her sister and murmured a few words. In an instant, the thrill faded from their gazes. "We can't," the first girl mumbled, her gaze dropping to the ground. "Mom said no toys today," the second one added, adjusting her hold on the bear as if she hesitated to part with it. Andrew experienced an unforeseen constriction in his chest. He had devoted his whole existence to the company of affluence, surrounded by individuals who casually splurged thousands on unnecessary possessions. Observing these two young girls pause over something as trivial as a stuffed toy seemed oddly incongruous in his reality. Without fully grasping his actions, he found himself stepping forward. "What if you take both?" he inquired, his tone steady yet inviting. The girls faced him together, their large blue eyes filled with astonishment. Indeed, one of them inquired with a hint of uncertainty. Andrew nodded, extending his hand to grasp both teddy bears from the shelf. "Is that so? If they appeal to you, then you ought to possess them." The second girl inclined her head, observing him with a blend of intrigue and wariness. "What is the reason?" He released a soft laugh at her carefulness. "Sometimes individuals deserve nice things simply for being themselves." The first girl's expression radiated pure joy, while the second appeared to be filled with uncertainty. Yet, as she caught sight of her sister's enthusiasm, she surrendered at last, her delicate hands clutching the bear with newfound determination. "Thank you, sir," the first one exclaimed, bouncing a bit on her toes. You're truly kind, the second added, her smile widening. Andrew discovered a smile gracing his lips, a delightful surprise in an unusual moment. I make an effort. As he guided them to the register, the girls lingered nearby, exchanging whispers in soft tones. It was evident that they were unfamiliar with this, with unexpected gestures of goodwill from those they did not know. And for some reason, that filled him with an even greater sense of satisfaction in taking that step. As the cashier scanned the bears, Andrew took it upon himself to pass them to the girls, observing their joyful embrace as they clutched the plush toys close. Their happiness radiated with such authenticity that it nearly took him by surprise. Ensure you look after them well, he remarked, feeling an unexpected sense of attachment to this seemingly trivial moment. In perfect harmony, they vowed, their synchronized voices eliciting a soft laugh from him. In an instant, they dashed back toward the exit, their exhilaration propelling them onward. Andrew observed their departure, a subtle shake of his head revealing his bemusement at how a seemingly trivial gesture had evolved into something unexpectedly significant. He glanced back at the shelf, poised to select a gift and make his exit. Yet, just as he extended his hand toward a toy, an inexplicable urge compelled him to look back at the door once more. The girls dashed into the embrace of a woman waiting just outside, their tiny hands pulling at her sleeves as they eagerly displayed their new toys. She leaned forward, tucking a lock of dark brown hair behind her ear while she absorbed their words, her lips slightly parted in astonishment. Then, as if aware of his watchful eyes, she lifted her gaze. Andrew's whole being froze in place. His heart pounded fiercely within his rib cage, breath momentarily trapped in his throat. As he stood there, grasping the hands of the two little girls, he was met with a face he hadn't encountered in 5 long years. Kate. The name slipped from his lips, almost a whisper, yet he was certain she had caught it. Her expression became rigid, her hold on the girls intensifying, her blue eyes fixed on his. She appeared just as she always had. Identical lengthy chestnut locks. Those captivating blue eyes remain unchanged. Just like her lips would part ever so slightly when she found herself unexpectedly surprised. However, this was more than merely a surprising gathering. This was something monumental. As he gazed at the two little girls clinging to her, their blonde hair glimmering beneath the store lights, their blue eyes mirroring his own, he sensed his whole world shift dramatically. The girls were not merely ordinary children. They belonged to him. He had been completely unaware of their existence. Kate sensed a sudden stillness envelop her as her gaze locked onto Andrew's. It was a moment she had feared for years, the one she had assured herself would never arrive. She had convinced herself that their realms had diverged too significantly now. She had made the prudent choice to maintain her distance. Yet, as she remained there, clasping the hands of their daughters, it dawned on her just how delicate that illusion truly was. The girls continued to pull at her sleeves, their tiny voices brimming with enthusiasm as they recounted the tale of the generous man in the store who had gifted them the teddy bears. Kate hardly took in their words, her thoughts consumed by the reality that the man she had shielded them from all these years was now just a few feet away, looking at her as if the earth had suddenly fallen away beneath him. Andrew advanced, his cerulean gaze fixed intently on hers. Yet, there was an unmistakable change in them now. Something that was absent during their previous encounter. His eyes darted towards the girls, and Kate noticed the precise instant the understanding dawned on him. She sensed it before he uttered a word. They belong to me, he declared, his tone soft yet resolute, as though voicing it would solidify its truth. Kate sensed a constriction in her throat, her heart racing with such intensity that she was convinced he could hear it. She could perceive the careful assessment in his gaze, the frantic pace of his thoughts as he sought to connect the scattered pieces, the tension in his clenched fists at his sides as he struggled to maintain his composure. Kate. His voice had taken on a new quality, rougher and tinged with an unmistakable rawness. Reveal the reality to me. The girls remained by her side, oblivious to the tempest gathering among the grown-ups. This place was not suitable for that. Not in their presence, not in this manner. She took a moment to steady herself, crouching down to their level and gently tucking a loose strand of blonde hair behind one of their ears. "Why don't you two go pick out a book?" she suggested, her voice airy despite the tremor in her hands. "Mommy would like to have a quick chat with someone." The girls shared a glance, unmistakably aware of the tension in the air, yet they nodded in agreement before making their way to the bookstore section with a light-hearted skip. A short distance away, as soon as they were beyond hearing, Andrew moved in closer. "For how long have you intended to hide this from me?" His voice was soft, measured, yet she could sense the fury bubbling just below the calm exterior. Kate took a deep breath. "Andrew, what is their age?" He interrupted, his gaze fixed intently on hers. She paused, fully aware that there was no escape from this situation anymore. "5," she confessed softly. He paused, his breath hitching briefly before he let out a sharp exhale, running a hand through his hair as if seeking to anchor himself in the moment. "5," he murmured, as if contemplating the number in solitude. Thus, they came into existence shortly thereafter. He let his words fade, yet she understood his thoughts perfectly. "Just after I departed." Andrew shook his head, releasing a sardonic chuckle. "Ah, so that's the reason for your absence." Kate experienced a sudden, intense ache in her chest. "I didn't vanish," she murmured, her tone gentler now. "I have made a decision." His expression grew somber. "A decision was made on my behalf." She recoiled at the honesty in his words. "I believed I was making the right choice. Is it the correct choice?" He exhaled sharply, his irritation finally piercing through the composed facade he typically maintained. "Kate, you have separated me from my children. You didn't even allow me the opportunity to choose whether I wanted to be a part of their lives. You merely presumed." "I thought I knew you," she interjected, her voice trembling just a bit. "I understood the depth of your commitment to your profession and the significance you placed on your independence. You expressed to me that you weren't prepared for a family, that settling down wasn't your desire, and that you had greater ambitions to pursue." His jaw clenched. "Did you really believe I didn't have the right to reconsider my decision?" She inhaled deeply, striving to maintain her composure. "I didn't want them to seem like a burden, Andrew. I wanted them to grow up without the burden of knowing their father was present out of guilt or obligation." His eyes sparkled with an enigmatic intensity. "Is that really how you perceive me?" Kate paused for a moment, then firmly shook her head. "No, but at that time fear gripped me. In solitude, I found myself questioning whether you would ever find it in your heart to forgive me if I revealed the truth." Andrew let out a sharp breath, his frustration transforming into something deeper, something akin to pain. He dragged a hand across his face, diverting his gaze for a brief moment before meeting her eyes once more. "What comes next?" His voice had softened, yet the intensity remained undiminished. "Are you really expecting me to simply turn and leave?" Kate felt a constriction in her chest. "Negative." "Excellent," he declared, his jaw clenched with resolve. "For that reason, I simply won't." For the first time since their reunion, she genuinely trusted him. Kate had envisioned this dialogue countless times throughout the last 5 years. In certain interpretations, Andrew was livid, hurling accusations at her. In some instances, he displayed a lack of concern, validating all of her deepest anxieties, that he would never have desired to be involved in their daughter's life. Yet, this subtle fervor, this unfiltered feeling reflected in his gaze, was an experience she had not anticipated. She sensed the intensity of his gaze as he absorbed it all, the tension in his jaw flexing and relaxing as if he were battling an inner storm. She understood Andrew deeply, recognizing that his silence signaled a storm of thoughts racing through his mind, a prelude to his inevitable reclamation of control. At that moment, she observed him grappling with the complexities of his position in the situation. He let out a long breath, his hand moving to his face before it fell away. His blue eyes captured hers with a fervor that sent a flutter through her stomach. "I must encounter them once more." Kate tensed. "Andrew, I'm not asking," he interrupted, his tone steady yet gentle. "They are my daughters, and I refuse to act as if they don't exist simply because I was unaware of them until today. Kate took a deep breath. It's more complex than that. His gaze deepened into shadows. It is for me. She averted her gaze, her teeth grazing her lip. They remain unaware of your identity. Unbeknownst to them, they are without a father. Andrew's expression changed subtly, a brief glimpse of vulnerability flashing in his eyes before he concealed it with resolve. Then it's time for them to discover the truth. Kate was aware that this moment was inevitable, yet she felt utterly unprepared for it. For years, she had devoted herself to shielding them, ensuring they remained untouched by the threat of disappointment, by the notion of a father who might have turned away had he been aware. Yet now, as she stood here confronting the truth she had hidden away for ages, it became clear that she had misjudged him. He was not turning his back. He wasn't reacting aggressively or attempting to shift the responsibility onto her. He stood firm, prepared to battle for his spot in their lives, leaving her caught in a whirlwind of relief and fear. She compelled herself to inhale deeply. They remain within, she remarked with a hint of uncertainty, her gaze drifting to the bookshelves where the twins were engrossed in vibrant pages, blissfully oblivious to the tempest brewing beyond. However, this cannot occur in a single moment. I must present them to you in the best manner possible. Andrew nodded, his demeanor grave. In what way? Kate paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. Please allow me a moment. I'll have a conversation with them first. I'll clarify everything in a manner that is approachable and easy to understand. They are just 5, Andrew. They perceive things differently than we do. His jaw clenched, and she sensed his disdain for the notion of waiting. Yet after a brief pause, he acquiesced with a nod. All right. However, I truly wish to be involved in this, Kate. I prefer not to linger for weeks or months while you determine the appropriate moment. I must understand them. She gazed at him, truly gazed at him, and for the first time in what felt like ages, she allowed herself to entertain the thought that perhaps this wouldn't turn out to be as catastrophic as she had dreaded. Perhaps he truly intended it. Perhaps he had reached a level of readiness that eluded him in the past. She released her breath gradually. Understood. His brows knitted together, as if her swift agreement had caught him off guard. Yet she squared her shoulders, locking eyes with him in resolute confidence. I'll have a conversation with them this evening, and if they're on board, we can arrange for you to meet them shortly. Andrew observed her intently before finally offering a deliberate nod. Soon, he reiterated, emphasizing that he would not allow her to distance herself from him. Kate felt a knot in her stomach as she watched her daughters, their carefree laughter echoing around them as they turned the pages of their books. Unbeknownst to them, their lives were on the brink of a profound transformation. Nor did she. Kate occupied herself throughout the drive home, contemplating how she would articulate this to them. She frequently stole glances in the rearview mirror at the 2 little girls in the back seat, their matching blonde heads bent over their new teddy bears, entirely unaware of the tempest brewing within her. How did you explain to 2 5-year-olds that the man who brought them toys wasn't merely a generous stranger but their dad? How did you convey such a monumental, transformative idea without instilling fear or making them feel as though their reality had abruptly shifted? As she navigated into the driveway, her fingers clenched the steering wheel with an intensity that spoke of her inner turmoil. She compelled herself to inhale deeply before swiveling in her chair. The girls remained immersed in their own enchanting realm, sharing laughter as they animated their stuffed animals in delightful conversation. Girls, Kate said softly, pausing until their eyes met. Mommy has something important to discuss with you, all right? They both froze instantly, their vivid blue eyes fixed on her with intrigue. Is it concerning the teddy bears? Emily inquired, holding hers close to her heart. Kate exhaled gently. Absolutely not, darling. It revolves around the individual. Who provided those to you? Both girls brightened immediately. Sophie interjected with enthusiasm, her small feet dancing with excitement. He mentioned that there are moments when individuals deserve nice things simply for being themselves. Kate managed to smile, her heart heavy with the ease at which they embraced Andrew's generosity. I understand, darling. but there's something important I must share with you regarding him." Emily tilted her head ever so slightly, her fingers gliding over the plush fur of her beloved bear. "Excuse me?" Kate paused, weighing her words with precision. "That man, he's truly one of a kind. He embodies kindness in a way that goes beyond mere niceness. He's someone you were meant to meet ages ago." Sophie furrowed her brow in perplexity. "Similar to a friend of Mommy's?" Kate gulped, her throat constricted. "Absolutely not, darling. He is your father." The car was enveloped in silence. Emily and Sophie gazed at her, their matching expressions still as they absorbed the weight of her words. Kate understood the importance of allowing them to navigate their feelings independently, so she remained silent, providing them the room to respond. At last, Emily's small brow knitted in confusion. "Our daddy," she repeated, her voice wavering. Kate gave a slight nod. "Absolutely, darling. Your father." Sophie adjusted her position, gripping her teddy bear more firmly. "However, we lack a father figure." Kate experienced a profound twist within her, a piercing sensation of guilt and regret. "I understand, darling. That's due to a choice I made long ago to keep you a secret from him. Today I caught a glimpse of him, and it's clear he understands now. He is eager to meet you." The sisters shared a look, an unspoken dialogue flowing between them that only those with a deep bond can comprehend. Kate paused, anticipation hanging in the air. At last, Emily faced her once more. "Is he interested in taking on the role of our father figure?" Kate released a slow breath, giving a nod. "Absolutely, darling. Indeed he does." Sophie maintained a subtle frown. "Will he be as kind as he is today?" Kate's throat constricted once more, yet she gave a nod. "Indeed, he is eager to connect with you both, but only if you are interested in meeting him." Emily bit her lip, her gaze fixed on her teddy bear, as though it possessed the solution she sought. Following a lengthy silence, she at last found her voice. "Are we allowed to pose questions to him?" Kate's lips formed a delicate, melancholic smile. "Absolutely, my dear." Sophie paused in silence for a moment longer before she gave a slow nod. "Understood." Kate felt a tightness in her chest. "All right," Emily agreed, her confidence growing slightly this time. "Understood." Kate experienced a surge of relief that was so intense it nearly overwhelmed her senses. She hadn't anticipated the direction this conversation would take, but now, gazing at her daughters, so small, yet so receptive to the prospect of something new, she felt a flicker of hope nestle in her heart. They were still unfamiliar with Andrew. Unbeknownst to them, their lives were on the brink of transformation. Yet at this moment, they were open to giving it a shot, and that was beyond what she could have hoped for. Andrew lay awake through the night, his gaze fixed on the ceiling of his penthouse apartment, thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance of everything that had transpired. He entered the toy store with the expectation of an ordinary day, yet in an instant, his whole life was turned on its head. He had two daughters, and today was the first time he learned of their existence. The truth of it pressed down on him, heavy and unyielding, robbing him of sleep. He had constructed his whole existence on the foundations of certainty, control, and predictability. Yet now all of those things had vanished. For years, he held on to the conviction that he was not the type of man who required a family. He had persuaded himself that his profession, his achievements, and the empire he had constructed were the only things of significance. Yet, in the stillness of his dimly lit room, his mind was consumed by thoughts of those two little girls. Their coordinated golden locks, their vivid azure eyes, his gaze, and the manner in which they had beamed at him with such pure trust before darting back to their mother. He felt uncertain about how to navigate the situation, yet one thing was clear: he would not turn his back on it. The following afternoon, he stood outside a quaint cafe, his hands tightly balled into fists at his sides. That morning, Kate had sent him a message, sharing that she had spoken with the girls and that they were eager to meet him, truly meet him. Not merely as the kind gentleman from the toy shop, but in the role of their father. He had perused her message at least a dozen times, attempting to comprehend the notion that two 5-year-olds had already formed a judgment about him, even before he had determined what type of father he intended to become. As the cafe door swung open, Kate emerged first, her flowing brown hair neatly gathered back. Her cerulean gaze traversed his features, searching for an inkling of hesitation, a trace of regret, or perhaps a flicker of fear. Yet, he experienced none of those emotions. He sensed that his whole existence was on the brink of transformation, and for the first time, he found himself uncertain whether that was a negative development. At that moment, his gaze fell upon them. Emily and Sophie emerged from behind their mother, gripping each other's hands tightly, as if uncertain about whether to release their hold. Clad in identical yellow dresses, their tiny faces radiated curiosity as they gazed up at him. Andrew's heart tightened painfully, leaving him momentarily breathless. Kate gently cleared her throat, her gaze drifting downwards towards them. "Girls," she spoke softly, "this is Andrew." She paused briefly, her voice lowering as she pressed on. "Your father." A peculiar chill ran down his spine at the sound of the words. Throughout his life he had been labeled in many ways. CEO, billionaire, leader, boss, but never had he been referred to as dad. The girls gazed at him, their eyes lingering for an extended moment. Before Emily, the more daring of the two, took a tentative step ahead. "Are you truly our father?" Andrew nodded slowly, feeling a parched sensation in his throat. "Indeed," he remarked, his tone gentler than he had anticipated. "I exist." Sophie observed him intently, her head tilted slightly to one side. "What took you so long to discover us?" The inquiry struck him with an intensity he hadn't anticipated. He cast a quick look at Kate, who was visibly preparing herself, clearly poised to intervene, but he subtly shook his head. He needed to respond to this on his own. He confessed with sincerity that he was unaware of you. "I wasn't informed by your mom, and I had no idea to check." He paused momentarily before contributing. "However, I would have. Had I been aware, I would have sought you out." The sisters shared a glance, quietly absorbing his words in a manner that only twins can truly grasp. Emily folded her arms across her chest. "Are you planning to depart now?" Andrew felt a constriction in his chest. "I have no desire to depart." Sophie bit her lip thoughtfully. "Is there another family in your life?" His breath hitched at the question, and in that moment, he understood that this was likely one of their greatest anxieties, that he might have someone else, a life in which they didn't belong. He lowered himself to their eye level, ensuring they could perceive the genuine emotion reflected in his expression. He spoke gently, "I don't have anyone else. Only the two of you." Emily's expression changed subtly, revealing her surprise at the unexpected response. Sophie's fingers curled against her dress as she observed him once more. "Are you interested in taking on a fatherly role with us?" At long last, she inquired. Andrew acted without a moment's pause. Above all else, for an extended pause, silence enveloped them both. To his utter astonishment, Emily stepped forward and extended her delicate hand. Andrew gazed at it for a moment, then gradually extended his larger hand, enveloping hers with a gentle grip. Her hold was delicate yet strong, and the heat of it ignited an unexpected surge of feelings within him. Sophie paused for just a heartbeat longer before moving closer, grasping his other hand. "Very well," she murmured. Andrew swallowed hard, his focus sharpening to the two small hands gripping his own. He found himself uncertain about the shape of the future. He felt lost, uncertain about how to find his way through it all. Yet, as he gazed upon his daughters, a singular truth resonated within him. He was not leaving. Andrew was uncertain about what he had anticipated from that initial encounter. Yet as he departed the cafe, his thoughts lingered, attempting to make sense of all that had transpired. The memory of his daughter's tiny hands resting in his lingered long after they had slipped away. For the first time in his life, he experienced a feeling that transcended the realms of business, power, or success. He experienced the overwhelming, daunting truth that he was now accountable for two young girls who had been unaware of his existence until this very moment. Kate had consented to allow him to see them once more, yet she had made it clear that it needed to be a slow process. They required some time to acclimate to the notion of him. Despite Andrew's disdain for the idea of waiting, he grasped the necessity of it. 5 years had slipped away from their lives, a duration marked by circumstances beyond his control. Now he needed to carve out his own space among them. That understanding nestled firmly within him as he sat in his office later that evening, gazing out at the city skyline. After years of constructing an empire and establishing his reputation, nothing compared to the profound emotion he experienced when Emily and Sophie gazed up at him and called him their daddy for the first time. As his phone vibrated, he looked at the display, taken aback to find Kate's name there. He paused briefly before responding. "Hey!" he said, reclining in his chair. Kate's voice carried a gentler quality than normal, tinged with a hint of uncertainty. "The girls haven't stopped discussing you since we departed from the cafe. Emily is curious whether your office resembles those grand ones depicted in cartoons, while Sophie is eager to find out if you've ever battled a dragon." Andrew exhaled a chuckle, massaging the nape of his neck. "I regret to let them down, but I believe that managing a company pales in comparison to the thrill of battling dragons." Kate paused, her silence stretching out before she finally found her words. "They are eager to meet with you again in the near future." His heart raced with sudden intensity. Indeed, she confessed. "I had planned to hold off for a bit more, but it seems that if I wait any longer, they'll just continue to press until I relent." Andrew's lips curled into a smile at the thought, a comforting warmth blossoming in his chest. "That works for me. What are you thinking about?" Kate paused, contemplating her response. A little something, a simple task. Perhaps the park, a place where they find solace. Andrew acknowledged her, despite her inability to perceive his gesture. "The park seems absolutely delightful." After they settled on a time, Andrew lingered on his phone, lost in thought for a considerable stretch of time. This was occurring. He was set to encounter them once more. Not as outsiders, not as the man who had unwittingly purchased teddy bears for them in a toy store, but as their dad. It was a chilling experience, a flood of emotions, and yet, for the first time in ages, there was a sense that everything in his life had finally aligned perfectly. As the day dawned, Andrew found himself poised at the park's entrance, awaiting their arrival long before they appeared. With his hands tucked deep into the pockets of his coat, he surveyed the surroundings. He had always been composed, but now, as he awaited Kate and the girls' arrival, an unfamiliar anxiety washed over him. He found himself grappling with unfamiliar feelings, the unsettling sensation that the outcome was entirely beyond his grasp. At that moment, his gaze fell upon them. Emily and Sophie dashed ahead of Kate, their golden locks swaying with each swift movement as they hurried toward the swings. Kate trailed behind, offering him a quick nod before gesturing toward the girls. She mentioned that they are filled with excitement, though there's a hint of nervousness as well. Andrew exhaled deeply. "Same here." Kate's lips formed a subtle smile. "Everything will turn out okay." He felt uncertain about the truth of that statement, yet he valued the effort to provide comfort. The girls had just begun to ascend the swings when they finally caught sight of him lingering close by. Emily was the first to wave, her small face glowing with joy. "You arrived," she remarked. Andrew beamed. "Absolutely, I did." Sophie inclined her head. "Did you happen to bring a dragon?" He let out a soft laugh as he approached. "This time it's a no, but perhaps next time will be different." Emily swung her legs, eager to set the swing in motion. "Could you give us a little nudge?" Andrew remained still, taken aback by the simplicity of the request. They embraced him as one of their own, showing no hesitation about his presence among them. Two little girls longed for their dad to give them a gentle push on the swings. "Indeed," he remarked, moving to position himself behind them. "I am capable of accomplishing that." He began with a gentle pace, his hands delicately pressing against their backs as they soared higher. Their laughter echoed around him. And in that moment, Andrew understood that true success wasn't measured by boardrooms or bank balances. At times, it was just about existing in this moment. Andrew had never imagined that a seemingly ordinary afternoon at the park could hold such significance. He dedicated years to negotiating million-dollar deals, attending prestigious events, and making impactful decisions that influenced the lives of thousands. Yet, nothing had ever seemed as meaningful as this instant, positioned behind his daughters, giving them a gentle push on the swings, reveling in their joyous laughter as they ascended higher into the sky. It was a moment he had never dared to envision. Yet now that he found himself in its presence, disbelief washed over him at the thought of nearly letting it slip away. Emily embraced the thrill of the moment, tilting her head back as she soared higher, her golden curls dancing with the breeze. Sophie, in contrast, exhibited a more careful demeanor, her laughter tinged with nervousness each time her feet hovered above the ground for just a moment too long. He swiftly grasped their boundaries, understanding the perfect amount of encouragement for Sophie, recognizing Emily's preference for greater heights, and delighting in their shared squeals of laughter whenever he playfully offered them an unexpected extra lift. Eventually, they eased their pace, shuffling their feet through the dirt to bring the swings to a halt. Sophie leaped off first, dashing toward the slide, while Emily pivoted to look at him, her blue eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Do you visit the park frequently?" she inquired, tilting her head slightly. Andrew chuckled softly, shaking his head in amusement. "Not exactly. It seems like ages since I last visited a park. Probably not since my childhood." Emily's brow furrowed, her expression reflecting disbelief at the oddity of the statement. "But where do you create?" He paused briefly, uncertain of the right response. He had devoted so much of his life to toil, striving relentlessly, reaching for lofty heights, that the notion of simply playing, of savoring life for its own sake, seemed utterly alien to him. "I suppose I never truly considered it," he confessed. Emily appeared to ponder this for a moment before grasping his hand and giving it a gentle tug. "Let's go," she urged. "Come, let's engage in some playtime." Andrew stole a look at Kate, perched on a nearby bench with a knowing smile, before turning his attention back to Emily, who was eagerly tugging him toward the jungle gym. He had always embraced a challenge, and if his daughter believed he should learn to play, he wouldn't dispute it. For the next hour, Andrew engaged in activities he never imagined he would undertake. He navigated through cramped tunnels, descended slides clearly meant for children, and even ended up on a seesaw with Sophie, who burst into laughter each time she soared into the air. It was absurd. It was immature. And yet, he found it hard to recall the last occasion that had brought him such joy and laughter. At one moment, he was assisting Sophie in constructing a sandcastle close to the playground's edge when Emily suddenly settled beside him, propping her chin on her hands. "You're quite amusing," she remarked, observing him intently. Andrew lifted an eyebrow in curiosity. "In what way is that amusing?" She gave a slight shrug. "I always believed that fathers had to maintain a serious demeanor, yet you prove otherwise." There was an undeniable weight to that statement that constricted his heart. He had dedicated his entire existence to seriousness, embodying the persona that others anticipated from him. Yet in their presence, with his daughters, he could shed that facade. He might simply be a father. "I can be serious at times," he remarked with a playful grin. "But only when the situation calls for it." Emily smiled brightly. "Great, because seriousness can be quite dull." Sophie nodded in affirmation, tapping the pinnacle of their sandcastle. "We appreciate your engaging nature." Andrew sensed a profound change within himself, an elusive feeling that defied description. They appreciated him not due to his achievements or influence, nor because he had gifted them playthings or taken them on outings. They appreciated his presence simply for the fact that he was around. Kate summoned them a few minutes later, informing them that it was time to depart. Andrew experienced a sharp twinge of disappointment, coming to the realization that he wasn't prepared for the day to conclude. He had devoted countless hours of his life pursuing the next big opportunity, perpetually gazing forward, fixated on what lay ahead. Yet today, for the very first time, he simply wished to embrace the present. As they strolled toward the parking lot, Sophie instinctively reached up and took his hand. He looked down at her, taken aback, yet she merely smiled up at him as if it were the most ordinary thing imaginable. Emily, eager to join in, took hold of his other hand, playfully swinging their arms together as they strolled along. Andrew noticed Kate observing them. Her expression was a mystery. For a brief instant, he feared she might withdraw, urging them to proceed with caution. Yet she merely offered a subtle nod, a silent pact that, at this moment, everything was acceptable. As they arrived at Kate's car, Sophie faced him, her expression earnest and thoughtful. "Will you be returning tomorrow?" Andrew lowered himself to meet their gaze, bringing himself to their eye level. "If that's what you desire." Emily nodded with unwavering certainty. "Absolutely." Sophie beamed with delight. "In that case, it's necessary." Andrew smiled, a sense of calm washing over him, a feeling that had eluded him ever since he had discovered their existence. "All right, I will be present." Kate observed the interaction intently, and as the girls settled into the car, she paused briefly before finding her words. "They have a fondness for you." Andrew locked eyes with her. "I appreciate them as well." She nodded slowly, weighing her trust in his words. "Make sure to meet their expectations." Her words held a certain gravity, though they were not menacing. He understood that after 5 years of nurturing them alone, after 5 years of being the sole decision-maker, it wouldn't be simple for her to place her trust in him, and he held no resentment towards her for that. "I won't," he said plainly. Kate observed him intently for a brief moment before ultimately giving a nod of agreement. "Looking forward to our meeting tomorrow." As he observed their departure, Andrew came to a profound realization. For the very first time, he found something truly worth his presence, and he was determined not to let it slip away. Andrew had always thought that his achievements were defined by the structures he created, the agreements he finalized, the businesses he grew, and the figures in his financial statements. Yet, as the days unfolded and he shared more moments with Emily and Sophie, he began to understand that nothing could rival what he was creating in the present. The following afternoon, as he had assured, he returned to the park once more. Yet, on this occasion there was a distinct change. Upon spotting him, the girls acted without a moment's pause. They approached him without the careful intrigue or the sense of someone still unraveling his complexities. Instead, they dashed straight toward him, their tiny feet stirring up dust as they leaped at his legs, encircling him with their small arms without a moment's hesitation. For a brief instant, Andrew remained motionless, grappling with the realization that his daughters were embracing him as if he were truly theirs. Uncertainty washed over him as an unexpected warmth filled his chest. In that moment, he instinctively crouched down and embraced them in return. Kate observed from a short distance, her arms folded across her chest. This time, however, her expression lacked tension. Instead, it held a gentler quality, a hint of uncertainty, as if she were grappling with the decision to trust what lay before her. Sophie was the first to withdraw, her cerulean eyes sparkling as she beamed up at him. "We wondered if perhaps it slipped your mind." Andrew grinned, playfully tousling her golden locks. "I mentioned I would arrive at this place." Emily regarded him with a grave expression. Sometimes people make promises, yet they fail to follow through. The way she articulated her words sent a ripple of unease through him, prompting him to look at Kate, who was deliberately averting her gaze, feigning interest in something else. In that moment, he understood that this journey extended beyond merely demonstrating his worth to his daughters. It also encompassed the need to validate himself in the eyes of their mother. He let out a breath and turned his gaze toward Emily. "Well, I'm not merely one of the crowd. I am your father." Emily regarded him for a moment, then nodded, as though she had come to the conclusion that his response was satisfactory. With a firm grip, she pulled him along, leading the way to the jungle gym. "Let's get started, we have a game waiting for us." The afternoon unfolded in a whirlwind of joy and minor triumphs. Sophie urged him to take a seat on the grass, where she attempted a cartwheel, her laughter ringing out each time she tumbled sideways. Emily urged him to assist her in navigating the monkey bars, and when she triumphantly reached the other side, her radiant smile filled him with a bittersweet ache in his heart. Kate lingered close, observing intently, yet she refrained from intervening. She allowed him to take on the role of their father. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they all strolled back to the parking lot. The girls strolled ahead, clutching their teddy bears from the toy store, animatedly discussing the highlights of their day. Kate cast a fleeting look in his direction. "You have a knack for them." Andrew gazed at her, taken aback. It marked the first occasion she had recognized that. He confessed that he often feels lost in his actions. "I'm navigating this journey step by step." She offered a faint smile, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Welcome to the journey of raising children." He released a gentle laugh. "Your skill shines through effortlessly." She gently shook her head. "It may not seem like it, but it truly is valuable." He nodded, observing his daughters stride forward, their tiny hands swaying playfully as they chatted animatedly. "Indeed," he murmured softly. "Indeed it is." Upon arriving at the car, Emily paused and looked back. "Will we have the pleasure of your company again tomorrow?" Andrew acted without a moment's pause. "Absolutely." Sophie gazed at him, her eyes wide with wonder. "What about the following day?" He lowered himself to meet their gaze. "I'm available for as long as you need me." Emily smiled brightly. "Eternally." Andrew sensed a constriction in his throat. He glanced at Kate, her expression a mystery, before shifting his attention back to his daughters. "For all eternity." Kate remained silent as she assisted them into the car, yet before shutting the door, she cast a lingering glance in his direction. A silent understanding lingered in the air between them. He had much to atone for. He had forfeited years that were irretrievable, yet he possessed today, and he was granted tomorrow. For the very first time, he understood precisely what he was battling for. The conclusion of this narrative holds profound emotional significance, as it transcends the mere revelation of a man learning about his offspring. This narrative explores themes of redemption, the opportunity for second chances, and the transformative power of love to alter even the most unyielding of existences. Andrew begins as an individual who flourishes in the realm of control, convinced that success is defined by authority and accomplishments. Yet, through Emily and Sophie, he discovers that genuine achievement transcends wealth or prestige. It's about being present, about standing by those who rely on you the most. Kate's journey holds equal importance. Years ago, she made a decision, driven by fear and a longing to shield her daughters from disappointment. She thought she was acting in their best interest, yet in doing so, she deprived them of the opportunity to connect with their father. Observing her dismantle her defenses and start to place her trust in Andrew is a transformation that rivals his own. At the core of this narrative are Emily and Sophie. They embody purity, radiating boundless affection, and are welcoming to the prospect of inviting someone new into their lives. They show Andrew the essence of fatherhood, not through elaborate displays, but through the simple, daily interactions that forge a genuine connection. Their embrace of him transcends material wealth or achievements. It is rooted in the simple truth that he belongs to them. The concluding moments, in which Andrew vows to remain by her side eternally, serve as a poignant testament to his journey and growth. At first, he was a man unaware of the void in his life. Ultimately, he understands precisely what he has discovered, and he is determined to hold on to it. This narrative explores the essence of what is truly significant, the importance of accountability, and the realization that genuine, unconditional love is the greatest treasure one can possess. The past remains unalterable, yet the future is shaped by the decisions we make. For the first time in his life, Andrew is making a choice that transcends his own needs.